are three basic stances in Tai Chi Chuan. One is called Wu Chi, the other is a bow stance, and a third one is cat stance. There's more than these three stances, but they're the most common in all of your Tai Chi Chuan forms. There are a few exceptions, but I'll cross those stances when we get to them. So the first stance I'm going to talk about is Wu Chi. Now, Wu Chi is a neutral stance, and it's a shoulder width stance. I'm a tall guy, and if I ask a fellow my size to stand in Wu Chi shoulder width, most of us will do this. And that's because we wish that our shoulders were this wide. You don't have to think about where shoulder width really is because your body is designed symmetrically, and you can use that principle to define your Wu Chi stance for you. So if you start with your feet together like this, splay them out as far as you can, then spin on the balls of your feet and keep them parallel as if you're standing on railroad tracks. This is the Wu Chi stance. The weight is 50-50 in both feet. Now the thing that I want to draw to your attention is that this is also known as a rooted stance. If I put my feet out like this and just kind of move around a little bit, you have a certain sensation of what that feels like, and we're used to this, so we don't think it's any big deal. But the minute that you bring your feet in and make them parallel, bend your knees a little bit, you're going to feel some tension here in this part of your legs. We're not used to standing like that, but if you take this position, it feels very strong, and thus the term a rooted stance. Now the bow stance is a rooted stance, the cat stance is also a rooted stance, just different placements of those roots. So I want to speak about the root itself for a second. In the bottom of your foot, in this position right here, by the pad, this is called the bubbling well point. And this is where you're going to focus your concentration. Again, when you're doing Tai Chi Chuan, let me turn this way a little bit. When you're doing Tai Chi Chuan, you have visualizations, things that you think about. To cultivate your Qi, you need to move that Qi, and you have to concentrate on where you're moving it to. So in all of the stances, that bubbling well point is where your Qi leaves your feet and goes into the ground. Now the Qi flows through your muscles and through your bones. Jing, which is a different energy process that I'll speak to sometime later, moves along our tendons and sinews and ligaments. But Qi basically moves through bones and muscles. That being said, when I'm taking my stances, whether it's a Wu Chi stance or a bow stance or a cat stance, I'm thinking about rooting, and in my mind, I'm moving my energy from my dantian, as far as what's going down into the earth, through your legs, and in a corkscrew spiraling fashion. So think of it as screwing something into the ground. Now the bubbling well point, which I pointed out before, which is right here, that's where you want to visualize your energy following the form of your shin going down, and then once you get to your foot, you're going to move it through that bubbling well point. So again, picture that connection to the earth as if you were a tree and the roots are going down in. So you can either picture it that way, see these roots just like a tree root underneath, or sort of a corkscrewing concept. Corkscrewing following the form of your leg and then rooting into the earth. Therefore, that's why our stances should be rooted, whether we're doing a Wu Chi stance, bow stance, or cat stance. So this is the Wu Chi stance. The bow stance is what I call a Wu Chi stance elongated. And what I mean by that is this. If I turn my right foot out 45 degrees, shift my weight, and step perfectly straight ahead, center my weight, now I'm 50-50. I'm chiing down into the ground in my bubbling well point. This is called sitting in my quad. If I turn my hips slightly forward, I should feel even pressure in both feet. This is a 50-50 weight distribution stance. Once again, corkscrewing or sending tree roots into the earth through the bubbling well point. This is the bow stance. The reason I say it's a Wuchi stance elongated is because if I reverse the process and slide this foot straight back and bring this other foot over here, I'm back to my Wuchi stance. So whether I'm taking a right bow stance or a left bow stance, my feet are always shoulder width apart, which we have defined with our own body to establish what that distance is between our feet. The last stance is a cat stance. Basically, you're posted or rooted on one foot, and that's usually at a 45-degree angle to one corner or the other, depending on which leg you're standing on. The front foot, there's 3 different positions. You're either on the ball of the foot, the heel of the foot, or the flat. Facing sideways, turning my right foot out 45 degrees. My cat stances will either be on the ball, on the heel, or flat. When we're doing kicks, we basically are posting in this similar fashion, as if we were going to set up a cat stance after the kick, which we do in some situations. So those are the 3 basic stances.